Interesting, isn't it? Nikolic, of course, recognised as being pro-Russian, even involved with had links with a pro-Russian radical party. Now we're hearing him saying that he's in favour of the EU. Has he, in effect, sold out to those who had put such faith in his nationalistic policies?
I think he's recognised the kind of reality of the Serbian voting population. I mean, the problem for Serbian voters is that they're surrounded by NATO countries, their media is owned by NATO countries, whether directly or indirectly, and all the strings so far have been pulled by, if you like, the pro-NATO lobby. So any politician who wants to get anywhere in Serbia is certainly not going to be too anti-NATO. He's got to take a much more EU pro-Western line, otherwise he'll be attacked by the media, not defended by the NGOs, and generally will be political dead meat. So I think Nikolic has recognised that reality which prevails and has prevailed in Serbia for several years now, and has adjusted his colours accordingly.
But is EU membership really an attractive proposition for Serbs at the moment, bearing in mind the economic crisis?
I think the Serbs have realised that EU membership is not a panacea, not a cure for all evils in the system. And there are many evils in the system. I mean, ex-President Tadic now has presided over 8 years of poverty in which his oligarchy have drawn all the financial benefits and created a kind of, replaced a kind of communism with a kind of corruptionism, which has been very good for them and very bad for everybody else in the country. And this really has been the problem for Tadic. But the population has been afraid of change, but they also have been afraid of further poverty. And despite Tadic's promises of an EU rose garden, even the EU garden looks very bare at the moment, and Tadic's offering looks even more bare as a result.
Will Nikolic really bring anything different to what Tadic brought, though, bearing in mind the financial impact that the EU is having on Serbia at the moment? I mean, will he have any success economically and bring a better life for the Serbian people?
Well, it depends which way he goes. I certainly would like to see him stick with his original colours and make more use of the existing and historical ties with, for example, Russia and indeed the BRIC countries and other countries outside the circle of NATO countries, because NATO orientation has done nothing for Serbia. All the people are in poverty still, and so that was really a mirage, an illusion. But it may be that Nikolic will still try and play both ends against the middle and stay with an EU orientation as well. And remember that some of the things that the EU have asked for are things that Nikolic will very willingly give. For example, investigations into all the corrupt privatizations that have been carried out by Tadic and his cronies and the oligarchs to take, for example, the banks and the leading companies into their ownership and their hands for their own private benefits. So it could be a very tough time for the Tadic faction, including Ivica Dačić and the socialists, if he carries on with Tadic. Because Nikolic, as the president, has the right to call for investigations into many aspects of the past that we've just had.
Sure, but Marko, what about the EU putting pressure on Nikolic to recognise Kosovo's independence? He said he certainly wouldn't want to do that. I mean, would he actually go against the EU in that respect?
Well, the EU doesn't entirely speak with one voice on that. As we know, there are some EU countries which stick to a principled position and respect international law and the sovereignty of Serbia over its Kosovo territory. But it would certainly be one step too far for Nikolic to do that, because he does have a nationalist constituency, a patriotic constituency to take care of as well, and he is associated with them, and he will not want under any circumstances to recognise a secessionist Kosovo formally. The danger is, of course, that he does what Tadic did, which is recognise these kind of secessionist Kosovo Albanians informally by giving them every attribute of a sovereign state he possibly can without actually formally recognising them. That would be the way that the EU would try to handle it in the majority of its members, and I hope that Nikolic would manage to stay principled enough and strong enough to avoid the fate of following Tadic in that direction.
What about domestically? What sort of stability can we see there with politics in Serbia? If Nikolic does win, which looks as if he has, of course, he'll have to coexist, will he not, with a parliamentary coalition headed by Tadic's Democrats? I mean, what does that actually mean for Serbia's internal policies?
It means a very interesting time because, of course, as president, the first thing that Nikolic can do is declare a new parliamentary election on the basis that the old one, the one we've just had, was full of voting fraud. And indeed, it was Nikolic's position that were he to win the presidential election, he would show all the irregularities in the voting that had led to that coalition, in effect, winning against him. The other problem, of course, for him is that Dacic took many of his votes away on behalf of the socialists, intending fully to give them to Nikolic's opponent, Tadic. So Dacic of the socialists played a very kind of quasi-Nikolic voting line in order to take votes from Nikolic. So he owes him a little bit as well in the way of payback. But the main thing is, if Tadic and Dacic create problems for him in Parliament, then Nikolic will create problems for them in the legal arena, investigating all the corrupt activities they stand accused of doing over the last 8 years.
Interesting times ahead. Thanks so much for explaining the political situation there in Serbia. Great to talk to you once again. Balkans political expert Marko Gasic joining us live there in London. Thank you.